Okay, we weren't expecting it to come on until 12:30, but we're going to make a go of it right now. I'm Sergeant Chris Lockey of Mounted Patrol. I've been on the department for 24 years, and I've been with this unit since 2000. Today I'm riding Winston. Winston's been with us about 8 years, I think. We've got Teak next to me, ridden by Scott Taylor. Diego, ridden by Robin Wagner. And then on the end there's Schaefer, ridden by Jim Walker. A couple of things we'll point out today is usually we don't ride with these face masks on the horses. Today they wanted us to come out because it's the emergency preparedness demonstrations. So we put the face masks on today so that you can understand that this is how we would be going out to a demonstration or something of that nature. They would have their face shields on and ready to go, and plus a few other items, and then we'd be carrying gas masks also. Most likely we would have face shields on our helmets because unlike everybody else who can run back to their squad cars and get whatever they need, we can't. So we just have to make do with what we've got at the time. Our biggest thing that we go out and do is Wednesday through Sunday night we work downtown for the bar close. We're downtown because of the districts down here with all the bars and things like that. They all let out about 2 o'clock. And our biggest thing that we can do is crowd control and move people along. We can empty or clean off a sidewalk in little or no time at all. And usually people don't mind moving out of our way just because it's not like an officer coming up and putting hands on them and telling them to move. We can do it with the horses, a little bit of pressure, and people move for us. One of the things that we would like to do, or we would mind doing today, is if there is anybody that would want to come out and volunteer, we could use one person to come out and give us a hand. Come on out. Maybe you just want to leave your bag right there by the deal. He has no idea what he's in for because he's going to be our arrestee today. So one of the things that's kind of hard to work in an area like this, it's pretty hard to tell you that we're going to move a crowd or anything like that. So one of the things that we do like to do is that we can show you that we can actually make arrests from horseback, deal with the general public the same way, and we don't have to go out and ask for the ground officers to do that. So what I'm going to do today is actually I'm going to make Robin and Jim Walker place you under arrest. They can give you the orders that they want and how they want you to stand, and then they can handcuff you. Hey, Scott. Scott. No, They'll give him orders on what they want him to do, where they want him to place his hands, and what they expect him to do. And a lot of people say, well, that doesn't work. Generally, though, if you're authoritative enough and tell people exactly what you want, it actually does work out very well for you. They're able to do a cursory search down to their waistband, make sure that the person's not carrying anything dangerous that's going to either hurt the officer or the horses, and then they're able to handcuff him. Once they've handcuffed him, then they'll turn him over or call for backup. They'll actually come over, make the arrest, take him away, do a finished search on him, and place him in a squad car for transportation. Both officers work together. The other thing is they got to make sure that they don't get any of their tack or anything like that wrapped up in him while they're arresting, because that can happen, get an arm in the reins and stuff like that. So they have to be kind of careful of that because they don't want to lose control of that. Once they've gained control of him, if they're out in the middle of the street, they can take him wherever they want to go. If you want to take him over to the corner there, show them that they can move out of the way. People get very concerned too when they're dealing up close and things with our horses. Horses do not like to step on people. They will try to avoid that at as much as possible. There are certain times though that we've had several people, they'll come down here and see us on the street, and they think they've been around horses, and most of them have, and they've owned horses on their own. They expect really good ground manners out of that horse and things like that. We do too. We expect ground manners out of our horses. But the other thing is that when we tell them, you can go ahead and release him, he's probably getting kind of uncomfortable. The other thing is that we can go out and tell people what to do. and tell our horses to actually walk into or through people and to move them out of their way, and people are not accustomed to that. They're expecting the horse to give them all the space they want. When we train horses, we actually train them to push crowds. I know there's not a whole lot of people out here right now on the sidewalk, but with all the kids and stuff, there's about 60 people. We'd probably, with 4 horses down here, be able to clear that sidewalk off in about a minute and a half. And it would take probably 6 to 10 officers to do the same amount of work, and we can do it a lot faster. People just don't want to try to stand up against us. A little bit more history about our unit. Right now we have 12 horses on our unit. We have 31 riders that are actually certified to ride. 3 of them, the 3 that are here with me today, actually work full-time. They work out at the barn 1 day a week. They come down here and work during the daytime on the street. And then we have some that also ride at night. And then the rest of our officers are part-time, meaning that they work in other precincts and other assignments of the city. They may be investigators. They may work in the 3rd precinct or the 5th precinct as patrol officers, but they come downtown and ride horses 1 day a week or 2 days a week on our weekends to help us with our bar close. So it's not uncommon for us to bring anywhere from 4 to 12 horses downtown on a weekend or any other time when we've decided so. Demonstrations, we can bring the whole herd downtown. We've got 3 trucks and trailers now at this point, so we're able to transport our whole herd into the city if that need arises. So, and I know there was comments made today that we were a little late. We were supposed to be down here by 9:30. Well, dealing with horses and other animals, sometimes you run into some problems. We had to do some doctoring out at the barn this morning and take care of them before we came downtown. And at this point, our animals are more important than being on time to a demonstration. So that's why I'm late today. Is there any questions or anything like that? Anybody who wants to know something? Go ahead with the camera. We have a few riders that, especially our newer riders, once they first start off, we try to get them as comfortable as possible on 1 or 2 horses. But there's several of us, and everybody here will get on any horse that we have and use them. Sometimes we have to do that for training purposes, and sometimes we have to do that just so the horses get exercised on a regular basis. So it kind of runs half and half. Everybody's got their favorite horses, but since I make the assignments, sometimes you don't always get your favorite horse. I personally do. I like to draft crosses, especially if they're crossed with a quarter horse. They've worked out very well for us. They hold up well. We seem to have a lot less injuries out in the herd. They are turned out with several other horses, so we have less injuries in that respect. And when a rider gets on here, the rider themselves will generally run anywhere from 200 pounds to 2 1/4, 230, something like that. Then you add a vest on and your gun belt and everything else. And then when it gets cold out, leather jacket. I actually weighed my gear one time before I came downtown, and that's another 45 pounds you're adding on to that. And that's just your basics riding gear, not your boots or anything else. So we found that the bigger, stockier horses are a lot better, and we also try to find a horse that is actually 15 hands, or actually 15-3, meaning every hand is 4 inches, so you can kind of do the math. And we try to have a uniform in height that way, so it works out good for us. We patrol up to about Christmas time is when we have everybody scheduled to come out and work, but a lot of that depends on the weather. It has nothing to do with the horses and the weather. It has everything to do with the rider. We still haven't found the gear that'll keep us warm in the saddle. As you can tell downtown here, a little breeze out in the country or someplace else becomes a wind tunnel down here between the buildings and stuff like that. We have what's that? Generally not. We actually, the shoes that we use, we put a borium tip in there, and that'll actually cut through thin layers of ice. Yep. And the only other thing is that I know we've been compared to other cities. Other cities do ride year-round. They use a little different shoe. They also work during the daytime. Generally, most of our work is done at night. So if it's, say if it's 20 degrees out during the daytime, generally it's going to be down in that 10 to 0 degrees at night. Things will ice up pretty bad then, and that's why we don't, right around sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we'll pull our horses off the street. How many years have they been in service? It all depends. We've had some horses that have been able to stay with us for a long time, and others because of temperament or mentality don't last very long. Like I said, he's been here probably 8 or 10 years, Jim. 8 years. Schaefer there is another one that's been here about 8 years. Diego here, the buckskin colored, he's been going on 3.5 years now. So Antique here, he's been 4 years, and I expect to get probably another 5 or 6 easily out of him, just because they do hold up so well. The other thing is a lot of our horses are donated. We have purchased some in the past, but we try to get the donated horses, and anybody that donates a horse, when we decide we're going to retire them or move on to a different style, they get the first right of refusal. We'll contact them and ask them if they want the horses back. Sometimes we've had some that are not able to, because of finances and things, do that, and then we have to find a different home for them. But once they leave ours, they'll go off to another owner, and they can do whatever they want. They are in Indianapolis with a well-trained horse, though. Generally, I don't know, truthfully, because we don't do much work with them. The dogs are not allowed to do crowd control. They should speak on their own, but most of them do article searches, building searches, things like that, and we just don't do much work together. Very seldom, and we train and deal with some dogs anyways, and generally most horses, once they're under saddle, are not going to be a problem with us with any dog. We've had a couple of horses that just love to chase dogs. If the dog shows any aggression to the horse will actually turn on them and take care of the issue. So, what's that? Well, they are, but generally, the funny thing is that people don't understand that, but a horse is a flight animal. If they're threatened or attacked, their natural response is to flee or get away from that problem. They won't stand their ground. It's not instinctual. A lot of that has to do with the training and truthfully, I think the courage is built into that horse from the officers. Anybody else have any questions? Well, the question is, what's the biggest advantage for horses or something else? There's several things. One is that we're elevated, so I can see through a crowd. I can see what's going on in the back there. Right now, I don't even have any problem seeing what's going on inside the crystal court, where if there's a ground officer here, they wouldn't be able to see through you or over you. So that's our biggest advantages, is the height. The other thing is intimidation, truthfully. That's how we get crowds to move, because I have not found any person yet that has been able to hold back any horse that I'm riding. So, and we've had some people that think they're strong enough or tough enough and they can do that, and they've never been able to do that. And like I said, it doesn't become a use of force issue. If I've got to come up and move somebody that's uncooperative, generally we end up using force on them, and it's not going to be pretty, and they're probably going to go to jail. I can move that horse into play and move somebody along that's uncooperative, and generally we don't have to put them in jail or do anything else.